Today I'm be talking to the internet, which is like you, about how to be your own best friend, because it's such a it's such a core quality of like living a good life. Because I'm an expert in that. Yep. And it's crazy that like we all have one life, and in this one life we're all such like pieces of trash to ourselves. How crazy is that we all get one life to live? Everyone spends it in a multitude of different ways. There's so much negativity that can float within your brain from day to day that can build up over time. Mental illnesses, depression, like there's so much negativity. And I'm using the word negativity not as in like, let's just all be like happy and positive and like not be depressed and anxious. I mean just like negativity as in like the energy. Whether that is like an actual disorder or not, like there's just bullshit going on in our heads, okay? It sucks that on this like singular experience, sometimes you get the short end of the stick, and whether it's depression or it's like other mental illnesses or it's like hormonal imbalances, or you get handed the puniest short little straw out of the bunch every single day, it feels like there's one life. There's one goddamn life. I mean, unless you believe in reincarnation, which, you know, I'm all for. Unless you're like some old white lady named Kathy who is like, my past life, I was like an Egyptian priestess and I've been like reincarnated into this body. I'm like, shut the fuck up. You could chill out from that for a little bit. What's your guys' like default white lady name? You know, like I feel like Karen was overused, but I feel like Kathy, William, I don't know, no, not William, Bob. Anyway, today I might cover some other critical life lessons and wisdom imparted to me from Trixie and Katya. I don't know, I've been thinking about quantum entanglement recently. That's been like heavy on my heart. How there's cockroaches in my walls, most probably. And like true crime. Cause what the fuck? Why is everybody watching true crime? I need a moment where I watch I wake up and I live and I breathe true crime, I think. Anyways, take a seat, listen to mommy. Let's get fucking started. We're gonna jump into quantum entanglement. I need to know if anyone else is thinking about quantum entanglement or like physics in the intensity that I do. Like, I don't know about you guys, but in high school, there was always like that one science that I felt like either I enjoyed more than the rest or I was like better at the rest. And so I was just like, oh my God, maybe this is my life. Like maybe this is my calling. Like maybe. And for me, that was physics. And like, okay, I may or may not have taken biology once in grade 11 and once in grade 12 because I took it once in grade 11 being like, I could just like get ahead of the waves. When I get to grade 12, I can just like focus on my studies and like what I want and like my art. And then I failed it. So I had to do it again in grade 12 anyways. Besides that, I loved physics, dude. Like, what do you mean there's all these laws, like unseen laws that over time people have discovered and tested and figured out that the universe like functions within, and it cannot function outside of those. I mean, you know, these are like the theories that are like tried and true and tested. E equals MC squared, bitch. Who? Einstein, bitch. E equals MC squared. Is that correct? I think that's correct. Anyways. But you're gonna sit there and tell me that there's things like quantum entanglement, which, okay, quantum entanglement. Quantum entanglement is a bizarre, counterintuitive phenomenon that explains how two subatomic particles can be intimately linked to each other, even if separated by billions of light years of space. And all these images that it shows are like, it looks like scrotum. They're showing me like scrotum that are like cosmically attached. Like there's still scrotum because they're cosmically attached. Videos. Quantum entanglement. Quantum entanglement explained in really simple words. Okay.
Imagine you're on a long drive and you suddenly hear your stomach begin to grumble. You decide to head to a fast food drive-thru and you order a hot dog and a hamburger. They're put in similar boxes and handed to you through the window. You have no way of knowing which box has the hot dog and which has the burger.
Interesting.
Obviously, once you open one of the boxes and see a burger, you will immediately know that the other one has the hot dog. This means that the hot dog and the burger are entangled in a certain way. This is roughly the idea upon which quantum entanglement is based. Look around you. All the rules of classical mechanics. This is a study of the motion of bodies in accordance with the general principles first laid down by Sir Isaac Newton. But what about objects that are really, really small? It's over. That.
I'm over it. I don't care anymore. It, didn't really explain anything to me. Like, the next section is spin quantum number in superposition, Schrodinger's experiment. Okay, I know that one. Where Schrodinger's experiment, what is like, if there's a cat in a box and you make, like, there's a cat in the box. There's a cat in the box and some guy thought a little bit too much about a cat in a box, and then there was he got probably a Nobel Prize because of it. So what do I have to think really hard about to get one of those things? Is that going to pay my rent if I get a Nobel Peace Prize? I think I could do it, but there's something in me that goes like, you're smart enough. Okay, have you guys ever heard the phrase that talks about like, you're running the same fucking hardware in your brain as like Albert Einstein, as Sir Isaac Newton? Okay, like, you're running the same hardware. Doesn't that blow your mind when you actually think about you have the same, like, sure, some people are smarter than others and like genetics and whatever and da 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 da, but like, who said it couldn't be you? You bitch. You bitch. So yeah, I think about quantum entanglement physics and just how complex the world is and how I'm just like this little meat sack trying to like figure out my life's purpose. And then there's like people discovering that like gravity has a wavelength. Huh? And getting Nobel Peace Prizes. Anyways, could be me, maybe not. Give me 40 years, wait till I have like 3 hairs on my head and maybe I'll win something. Have you guys seen the Dimension video? I think I have somebody in my life every single year who has not seen this video, who I then say, I have the most important video of your life that I need you to see. It's 11 minutes flat. It's called How to Imagine the 10th Dimension. Posted 15 years ago and has 6.5 million views. I don't know who the YouTuber is. The only description the video has is, this is kind of cool. And it's in a like 2x3 format. It's really bad quality. And it's the best video I've ever seen.
Entered the second dimension. The object we're representing now has a length and a width, but no depth. To help us with imagining the higher dimensions, we're going to represent our second dimensional object as being created using a second line, which branches off from the first.
This video might be like the singular most enjoyable video that I have watched on repeat religiously, as if my life depends on it. But he goes through the 10 dimensions, but it does so in such a understandable way that, because, like us humans living in, what do we live in? 4 dimensions, length, width, height, sound, touch. I don't know. Do we live in the 3rd dimension? Do humans live in 3D or 4D? I feel like we live in 3D. In everyday life, we inhabit a space of 3 dimensions, a vast cupboard, quote unquote, with height, width, and depth, well known for centuries. Less obviously, we can consider time as an additional 4th dimension, as Einstein famously revealed. So like, if you watch this dimension video, it goes through technically what the 1st dimension looks like. If there was a creature that inhabited the 1st dimension, what it would perceive, what it would feel like, which is really hard for us to understand because we are made to function, like our brains to function in these 3 dimensions that we inhabit. So trying to understand what life would be like as a 1st dimension or even 2nd dimension dweller is like nearly impossible. But this video does a really, really good job of it. I'll link it below. Or I'll put it fucking somewhere here. I don't know. But like, go watch it. Go watch it right now. And stop the video where it loses you and then come back after. I'll wait. Yeah, cause what the but that video, dude, every single time I watch it, every time I show it to one of my friends or like somebody in my life where we're talking about physics or dimensions, I go, have you seen the 10th dimension video? And it's just like I make them more miserable than they were 5 minutes previous, because it just makes you think, frankly, far too much. Far too much. I wonder what it would be like to inhabit a higher dimension. Because if we are these 3-dimension beings and we're experiencing life the way that we do on this dimension that we inhabit, and it's hard for us to understand a first or second dimension dweller, such as we dwell in this dimension, what the fuck? Like even a 6th dimension, like something that inhabits the 6th dimension, 7th, 8th, bitch, 10th, what the I know this video is supposed to be how to be your own best friend, but I just want to say that this is all related. Maybe it's not related. I don't know. You clicked on the video. You want to stick around to find out? Do that. If not, frankly, get pow. Terrifying. Terrifying. There's a part in that video where it shows to a second dimension dweller what we would look like. And I mean, to briefly explain it, like if you went and actually watched that video, you'll know what I'm talking about, but like where our 3D body is passing through this flat second like dimension that they inhabit, and we are just seeing almost like in the slivers of our body, like this our form appears in like sliver form, like growing and shrinking as we move through. Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Please go watch that video. Absolutely. If anything, just go into like the 6th dimension, because I feel like somewhere after that it loses me and I go, okay, I'm not interested anymore. But crazy to think like that's what aliens are. That's what aliens are. I don't think God exists. I think if there is any sense of like God or like oneness, it would be like, this is a whole other topic for a whole other time that I could spend so much energy and time talking about. But like the everything is the universe to me is my like concept of God. Like water is the universe and God, and the wind and the trees and nature. Like it's more of like this spiritual way of viewing God, or because if there's any higher power in this world, it's all the things about like physics and science that we don't know. It's everything that makes up the universe that is so incredibly wild and otherworldly that to us, that's God. Because that's things we can't understand. It's the processes of this universe that we are subject to. And I love thinking about that. Because at the end of the day, we're just, what are we, just meat sacks? We're just meat sacks trying to figure out what the fuck we're doing on this tiny little planet in the middle of nowhere. Like, guys, I love existence. And I choose to view existence as not like a dreadful thing. More of a like willful ignorance. Ignorance is bliss, because we're probably never going to figure everything out in my lifetime. So I might as well just like revere the universe for the beauty she is, you know? Crazy. Moving on. I'm sorry. Now that we've had existential crises together, on the topic of media I've been watching recently, guys, I'm so behind. Like, I don't know who's watched Trixie and Katya's shows before. Drag queens, Trixie Mattel, Katya. Does Katya have a last name? I'm so behind the wave. They have, okay, if you don't know anything about Trixie and Katya, very talented drag queens. I will say this about the show. First of all, they have 2 shows. There's one called I didn't make that up. And there's another show called Bald and Beautiful, which Bald and Beautiful is the one that I'm talking about, that I've been watching on the regular, because is more of a visual experience. I have to sit and enjoy the awfulness of the show. And I don't even think the episodes are that long. Like, they're very, very short, but they're like gag pieces. They're laugh videos. You know, they're funny to watch. But The Bald and Beautiful is a podcast where Trixie and Katya just sit down and gab. They just sit down and gab, dude. And I was trying to think about why I'm enjoying their content recently, more specifically. And there is the part of me that is, you know, just simply yearning for endless amounts of content to consume. You know what I mean? And YouTube is my preferred platform of choice, because while TikTok can give me news and what's going on in the world in a very like Gen Z, you know, not manipulated by the media, CBC, Fox News type beat, TikTok is TikTok. And it can be so overwhelming. Instagram, more doom scrolling. Other apps, Twitter, everyone's miserable. Okay, so YouTube is, am I anxious today? Let me watch a 20-minute video about like ADHD friendly anxiety tips as I do the dishes and drink my coffee in the morning because that makes me feel good. So like in my search for endless content to consume, I do love podcasts. I love when people talk. I love when people have visual YouTube content that is like you can just listen to it. It can just become your background noise while you're doing anything. And I do think that's really beneficial to like have in a time where we are used to the scroll and the 2-second gratification and the scroll to one big dramatic thing that makes you emotional, scroll 5 seconds later to like a banana bread recipe, scroll 5 seconds later and you're looking at like what's happening in Palestine, scroll 5 seconds later and it's like someone doing an ASMR clean with me in their house. Like, it's overwhelming. And even if it's satisfying those like dopamine centers in your brain by like scrolling and then realizing you haven't moved for 4 hours, YouTube is more calm. YouTube is more, I'm trying not to do that. I'm trying to do my laundry and clean my house and work on my own creative projects and organize my day and be active and go for walks and talk to my friends and go to the park and do my dishes. And maybe I need a little bit of content to help me through that, but it needs to be a 2-hour podcast. Enter the bold and beautiful. And it's more of an audio experience, which I really love. And I've also been thinking about it because I feel like there's just this art form of gossiping that's disappearing, and I maybe I'm just talking at my ass and it really isn't, but in my life, in this reality that I live in, I feel like for so long I like neglected gossip as like I didn't want to be a part of it. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to gossip. And I think there's just this understanding in my mind with frankly, that comes with religious trauma, if I'm going to be frank, about what gossip even is. Because I think when I was growing up in more of the younger, like religious era of my life, gossiping was a sin, frankly. For those of you know, it was a sin, bitch. Okay. Like you can vent to your friends, but gossiping and talking about someone else when they're not in the room to, I guess, like defend themselves is gossiping. And then I started to like restructure that thinking once, I exiled myself from the church and all the bullshit that came with it. Homophobia. Because gossiping, at the end of the day, historically, a way for like women to protect themselves. You could also just say like impoverished, you could say marginalized, anyone that hasn't been in the forefront of power at any point in history. So I guess marginalized is a better way to put it. Gossip is a way of getting information to circulate. Hearsay causes hearsay, which, can be a bad thing. There's something about gossip that has been like cracked open in my mind, and I do think still to this day, like a large part of my heart is focused on like doing things out of love and out of kindness and love to myself, Gossiping has always felt like it bashes heads with that until I start to think about, okay, well, if you're going to do this thing, if you're going to gossip, why don't you just do it out of like kindness and love and keep that in the back of your brain as you're doing it? And, gossip doesn't have to be, I do think the bad kinds of gossip is like, she was a bitch because da-da-da-da, and she did this fucking thing and it pissed me the fuck off and da-da-da. And you're just like ripping people apart for no reason other than it makes you feel good. I don't think that's beneficial at all. I think that's bullshit. But gossiping in the sense of, like you're talking with a friend and you're saying how something pissed you off, like this person did this and I really fucking hated it and it was so annoying, and that other friend is just there to listen, is just there to be like, oh yeah, no kidding, yeah, I understand, like really lending the ear. I think there's it's so situational, but gossiping is not the like black and white thing that, you know, the Christians frankly taught me to believe that it was. Like it's much more complex. It's a means of sharing information, of dispersing knowledge through more marginalized sectors where like word of mouth is holding the power over the action that you can do. You know, if you're limited, if you don't have the resources or the power to like enact laws and shit. Like, what's that one scene in Bridgerton where the oh my god, what's her name? Mommy Bridgerton. Also, Bridgerton spoiler, which if you haven't watched it at this point, get a fucking life. Like, go binge it. Please go binge it. Please go binge it. It's so good. Okay, Daphne is going to get married off to, what the fuck is his name? Disgusting guy. And her brother set up, fucked up royally, and they're all distraught. And her mom goes, we have to have, like, your mother-in-law to be over for tea. Like, we have to. And I think it's a wonderful example of like the power. I do like that show for so many reasons. Like there's a couple reasons why I don't. I know it's drawn some controversy over like specific scenes, and oh my god, the sex scenes are so good. So good. I'm such a smut girly. I really am. Don't get it twisted. Don't f***ing get it twisted. But Lady Bridgerton, they have her daughter Daphne. They invite her, Daphne's like mother to be, I guess, stepmother, mother-in-law, whatever the fuck you call it, mother-in-law, I think, over for tea. And then she and the mother instructs all of her maids to go into the kitchen and gossip with the mother-in-law's maids. And so they gossip and she's trying to get her maids to figure out the mother-in-law's maids like tea. Like how can they get Daphne out of this marriage? Like what has this man done that is like buried and covered up that they can uncover and like get him out of our lives, basically. So they're like using that power of gossiping to like strategically see ends out when, you know, in this universe, in the Bridgerton universe, like they are women who don't have the power of the household. And once the male makes the decision's made. I could go off on that being, you know, the landscape of the show, but I don't need to right now, frankly. But yeah, gossip is a very powerful thing. I feel like the delicacy of gossiping and using it as a means of information is disappearing. I feel like now it's being used to like bullshit. People push up their own social agendas. It's being used like fraudulently. I don't like it. But anyways, yeah, Trixie and Katya's podcast is so nice. Like I'll watch it while I'm getting ready for work, while I'm doing my makeup, while I'm taking a shower. It's just so nice. It's refreshing. There's just, you know, like two friends laughing about literally everything, pivoting to intense topics. Like they talk about social media, they talk about other forms of content, about online world, they talk about the events that they go to, the drama they pick up at those events, and like dissect it. Oh, it's so good. I love YouTube as a form of content for consumption, and I love YouTube as a form of like information. And I mean, it's part of the reason why I like making videos, is because it just feels like an outlet. Like you can make whatever you want, and the internet's free to use, and so I might as well use it in the ways that benefit me instead of getting sucked into algorithms. Because like, and I think every generation is going to feel this way, but I feel like right now the internet is just beating down, mashing our brains into pulp. Like there's nothing to it right now. When you go on TikTok, when you go on IG, when you go on Twitter, like it just feels like nonsense. And I know the internet is a great place for connection, but that's not without major caveats. And, you know, there's the whole conversation of like, should kids be allowed phone access? And I don't have fucking kids. I don't want to talk about it. Like I have opinions, but anyways, like it's just crazy right now that you're going to see like a Kamala Harris coconut remix with Kesha, where it's like, dance. And then you scroll, and then it's like, urgent from Sudan, we need your help. And then you scroll, and then it's just like an astrology forecast or something, you know, like how do we cope with the intensity of these emotions that we're going from every 5 seconds? Like, we're not made to cope with that, and it's overwhelming, and it's frankly, it's what's giving you anxiety, bitch. It's giving you anxiety. And I mean, I think if that's going to show anything, it's that this generation truly, or like these generations that are coming up on social media, are the, like, what I like to think of as the opposite of snowflakes. Like, if we're being raised in this anxious world online, I'm partial to believing that in the future, when we get older, we're gonna have to find the ways out of that. But because of that situation, like, we're gonna be, I think, more empathetic as people. We're gonna figure out the ways of mastering anxiety and like what's truly important in life. These younger generations are anything but snowflakes. Like, you know, some of them are bitches, absolutely, but anyways, I don't know why I talked about Trixie and Katya for so fucking long. Couple things to talk about, and then we'll get into why being your own best friend is crucial to your well-being, because I'm almost there. I'm almost there. But first of all, briefly, true crime. What the fuck is going on? Like, is it that enjoyable to watch? Y'all know someone in your life who watches true crime before bed and falls asleep to like true crime podcasts? The amount of times I have heard that somebody I know knows somebody that they know who falls asleep to true crime podcast. I don't know why this is so widespread, and I'm sure I could look into it, but I don't want to. I want to speculate. On the one hand, it makes sense that if there's unsolved crimes or unsolved mysteries, it makes sense that we, as, you know, scared people and worrisome creatures, want to understand. We want to see the full picture and why it still wasn't solved, why nothing was figured out, why the case is left the way that it is, like open, like many cases. On another hand, I think it's a wonderful way of people teaching themselves about like navigating legal systems and the lines that are in place for victims and the lines that are in place for perpetrators. That's the word I'm thinking of. Like, I think it can be very educational, but I think it comes with the downside of like scaring your boots off, bitch. Terrifying. I feel like true crime would put me in such a bad mood if I was to just watch it on the regular. And like I know there's people that are watching it on the regular, so I don't know, man. Although, okay, I was told also that with those that have ADHD, it is a sense of a dopamine release, which, as somebody with ADHD, knowing how difficult life is when you're stuck in a place of zero dopamine and you know what needs to get done, but you can't do it because your brain is not functioning, your chemical releases are not functioning in order to like enable that process, like someone else without fucking ADHD will be able to do. Like, and knowing how to get that dopamine to supplement those things. Like, for me, it would be maybe like a cup of coffee, which I can sleep fine after coffee, so that is applicable throughout the whole day. You know, there's other things like true crime, apparently, that maybe I need to get onto. And I mean, maybe this is like mirrored with how I use like Trixie and Katya to have that little bit of content that helps me shut off some of my brain screens, and they can pay attention to the podcast while other screens can pay attention to the tasks I need to do. So I had seen this comparison with ADHD as if you were a security guard. Like, think those security rooms where you have like, you know, 20 monitors up looking at different cams kind of thing. And this person had compared, I don't remember what this was from, but it really, I love getting analogies about what ADHD feels like, because it's so nice to be like, oh my God, that's it. And getting an analogy that's so accurate to your life representation. And then it helps you discover like ways to help yourself when you know what it feels like in a more physical analogy way and how you can fix that. Anyways, I had heard of this analogy where ADHD is like you have those 20 monitors and they're all on and they're all going and you can't shut any of them off. And they're all kind of necessary to have on because it's all either things that need to be done or thoughts that you're thinking or ideas or something you need to do next week or something you need to do in 1 hour. And they're all trying to draw equal amounts of your attention, and you cannot pay attention to one because they're all just so loud. And when you do something like, say, watch true crime, I'm assuming, as a dopamine release, or Alexa puts on Trixie and Katya, like, it's taking a couple of those screens and playing Trixie and Katya on them as well. Meaning you have more attention to focus on like a smaller amount of screens. You don't have 20 monitors playing nonsense. You have 15 and 5 are playing Trixie and Katya, which you can pay attention to. So it kind of makes sense that if there's maybe true crime playing and you have 5 screens playing when you're trying to sleep and you put on true crime, it like numbs things. It shuts the screens off. It occupies space in your brain where instead of thinking all the thoughts that would keep you up, you're at peace. There's just true crime playing. Maybe I need to get on the true crime. I'll report back. Oh my God, moving on. Bitch, I have cockroaches. Okay. I have lived in this apartment for 2 years, nearly, in September. Oh my God, it's almost 2 years. I'm not even a month away from 2 years. I feel like I need a celebration. This apartment has treated me. I'm not talking about the property managers. I'm not talking about the landlords, bitch. I'm not talking about anything about the building physically. This apartment as a space to call home has been beautiful, has helped me through some of the darkest places in my life, simply just by being my space and my space only. And it's the first time in my life that I mean, I've lived on my own, but it's the first time in my life that I can fill a space like this large, it's only 400 square feet, with me, with all my thoughts, with all my anxieties, with anything that it needs to be filled with at that time that needs to be processed. Which there's so much about moving out that I foresaw that would be good for me. And there was so much about moving out there was so much that came with moving out, I should say, that I didn't foresee, but I was already open to the experience of being on my own and what it would bring. So I'm very thankful for this space. But, bitch, through all of that, I have ants. And they're these tiny little pesky ass sugar ants. And when I first saw them, I was like, oh my God, they're everywhere. They're everywhere. They are on my baseboards. They're crawling on my floor. They're on my desk. They're in my clothes. They're in my bathtub. They're on my counter, in the sink. They're like, it was disgusting in my head because I've never lived with pests like that before in my physical place. You know, how many floors up off the ground? I was like, damn, this is a building issue. And out of the goodness of my heart, I let my property managers know. I let the building know, thinking, oh my God, they're going to want to fix this so bad. This is awful. Can you tell I've never had a landlord before? They don't care. The whole building has them. I first reported them forever ago, and they brought like this pest manager guy to just put like little plastic carts in like certain corners of my house with like sticky residue in it, and he was like, they'll attract the ants. And I was like, okay, so like what's gonna happen with like how, so is it like gonna get rid of them? Well, it's just gonna like they'll go into the sticky stuff and they'll die. Well, like okay, well, like it's a bigger issue. It's like in the building though, so like that's great for my apartment, but like how are we gonna get rid of the larger ant problem? And he was like, if it persists, let your building know, I guess. That was when I realized. That was the moment that I realized what life was going to be like. Living downtown during a silent recession where landlords are already trash, where prices are steadily increasing, taxes for landlords, repairs for landlords, and then there's tenants who are like rejecting their rent increases because we can't afford it. Like there's always tension there, But it's the first time that obviously I'm realizing the complexity of a landlord and like all the legal things you have to deal with and how much they don't care about infestations. So fast forward 2 years later, you know, so is life. I hear about people where they're like, my friend has cockroaches. And I'm like, at least I have tiny ants, you know, whatever. I've used every thing in the book, diatomaceous earth, ant traps, burning this at this time, cleaning every whatever, don't leave food out. Like, I know, bitch. I know, okay? And there just came a point where I was like, how much can I control it? How clean can I be? And that's the most I can do. Until the other night where I'm going to bed and on my headboard, I see a bug. Let me catch the bug. I grab a cup. I go to catch the bug. Pull my pillow back because it's just behind the pillow a little bit. Pull the pillow back. Gone. Gone. What the f was that? It was like this, a little longer than like my thumbnail, like in size. Okay, I'll pull the bed apart. And then my brain goes, bitch, what if it's a cockroach? So I tore the whole fucking bed apart. I tore the whole bed. Found it. Tried to catch it again. Disappears once again. Got a better look at it, which made me go, that was definitely a cockroach. Which I have. It's currently in a mason jar, dead on my balcony. So yeah, because I suffocated it. I'm not a murderous fiend. The issue now is that it's 6:30, 7:30, 8:30. I work in 3 hours until like 4 in the morning. And yesterday I got a correspondence from my landlord saying that they were going to send somebody tomorrow to do a treatment. And it would take 2 hours and I need to be gone for 2 hours. And on top of that, everything needed to be pulled from the walls by 2 feet everywhere. The cabinets need to be cleared. My wardrobe, my food areas need to be cleared. Bitch. She didn't even tell me a time. Bitch, when? What time of day are they coming? So I'm going to do that after I'm done recording this. Pray for my soul. Finally, I would like to get on to being your own best friend, being crucial to your well-being. I feel like yapping and chatting about things is such a good way to get like warmed up for actually talking about something that's on my mind, because frankly, there's so much on my mind. There's so many thoughts and ideas and creative things I want to do, and anxieties and stresses, and one of those creative ideas has always been videos for some reason. For the past like 4 years, 5 years of my life, there's been some inclination to make videos. I don't know why. It just, I feel happy when I do it. I feel natural while I'm doing it, more than I do like speaking to people. Like this feels more natural and more helpful to like me as a whole, as a creative person, as just a person in general. And being able to yap on the internet, I think I finally freed myself of the internal toil that is caring, frankly, about what others think about me. And that is always going to be something that I think everyone worries about to some different degree. And I think for me, it's always going to be something that I come back and forth from worrying about in different degrees. But I feel like I've been on this longer journey of making content in whatever way, in whatever, you know, like I'll make a video and then 4 or 5 months later I'll make another video, and then maybe I get back to streaming on Twitch a little more, which I do stream on Twitch, by the way, twitch.tv/BigMommyAlexa. Or it's making reels on Instagram. Like whatever way it is, I feel like I just need to make things. Videos help get the inside thoughts out in just such a wonderful way, which I don't think I would have been able to do if I frankly cared about what people thought about me. The reason why I wanted to make one of these first like sit down videos, how to be your own best friend, is because that's, I feel like, how I came to be here, like where I am now. And it sounds so cliche. It sounds so like, woohoo, be your own best friend, love yourself, yay. But you're the only person you have in this life that is guaranteed. Yes, we have wonderful friends. We have wonderful family. You can surround yourself with wonderful people, but none of that's guaranteed, you know? Like, in the same way that life isn't guaranteed, your friends could be gone tomorrow. Your family could be gone tomorrow. And I know that's a morbid thought, but that's just the reality of it. You could be gone tomorrow. Nothing is promised. And I mean, like, all that sounds cliche because you hear that shit all the time, but it's so true. It's so true. Like, at the end of the day, if I am left with nobody but myself, I will be fine. I will be fine. Because life is more worth living when I have my friends and I have my family and I have that love that surrounds me. But all of that is useless if I don't know how to love myself and I don't step forward with that love in everything I do. And that comes down to knowing what you deserve, knowing how you don't want to be spoken to, knowing how you don't like to be treated, as much as it does knowing how you do want to be treated, how you do want to speak to yourself, how you do want others to speak to you. Like, it's just being your own best friend is so crucial to your well-being, and you need to be rooting for yourself. And I mean, I don't think I knew how much I talked down to myself until, honestly, I started watching YouTube videos about it. I was in, I mean, to keep it brief, like a very dark place mentally. And the thing that I would always rely on was YouTube videos, is to fill that, you know, turn some of the screens off that are looking a little scary and dark. I'm going to watch YouTube videos because it takes that attention away from those dark feelings, those dark thoughts. And there was a large portion of time where, like, I didn't treat myself with compassion, with hateful words, and in a manner that would make my that would make my mom sad, that would make anyone who I know today cares and loves about, like loves me, will make them incredibly sad to hear. And, you know, it still comes in waves. It comes in waves where that negative self-talk beats you down again, but I now know better. And I feel like I just wanted to talk about that better, because it's very nice when you find it. And you know at least what to work towards. There's so many cliches that could go along with this video, that could go along with, you know, like talking about self-care and self-help and self-love. And there's so many of those like self-care books that people rely on and recommend and you read. And there's this thing where you have an issue in life, you figure all the ways that you can possibly solve it by reading the books, by watching the videos. But when it comes to actually taking the action necessary to start helping yourself, that's where you fall short. If there's one thing that I can help with, I feel like it would be just giving you that one thing to do. I love self-help books. Sure. Like, I have some dumbass books. I have one dumbass book that I read, and I did put stickies in, and I would not recommend this to anyone. But for the moment in my life, I saw the use in it. This is Reinventing the Body, Resurrecting the Soul. How to Create a New You by Deepak Chopra. He's the author of more than 55 books translated over into 35 languages, numerous New York Times bestsellers in both fiction and nonfiction. But they're all very spiritual and self-help related, which it can be bad. It can be bad. But a lot of these are like about reflection, contemplation, meditation, research that was found, morning meditation, different types of meditation, visualization, quieting your internal dialogue, why religion is deeply disturbing, you know, etc. Like a bunch of things. But the thing about self-care books is usually it's the same regurgitated info organized into whatever that book is about and just fed back to you in a multitude of different ways. And I hear people read tons of these books and are motivated, but they don't know how to implement like that real life change when it actually comes down to it in a way that, oh my God, in a way that suits you, in a way that suits you. Like, I'm so over the, like, I read this book and my life was changed. Or like, you just need to read this book and your life is, like, it's not, sure, we all operate on the same hard drive. Like, we are so individually wildly different that it would be ridiculous to hope you can be fixed or try to fix yourself or help yourself under the exact same framework as somebody as some professor that lives in New Hampshire and has these methods that they have found through study and research and whatever. The more we approach it from a universal angle and less like with self-help and less individually, the more hopeless you sometimes end up actually feeling about all this shit. Like, and that being said, I do need to get it through your thick fucking skull that your brain is not 1 in a million. Like, I feel like I'm going back and forth here, but I'm just trying to like explain to you the vastness of this topic and like what all feels important to tell you about this topic. You know, the human experience is called the human experience because you're human. You're having an experience. It's probably been had a million times before because you're human. Unless you have some like rare fucking disease or like chronic condition that like no one's heard of and they made up a word for it just for you because, you know, you're a little different. And everyone has different needs, processes that work for them mentally, We get that, okay? There's always somebody that's come before you that can set a precedent for what you're going through. It's easy to feel alone. It's easy to feel like you have no one to turn to. And on that note, you need to make sure that you are turning to yourself first. So that when you turn to others, say like the experts for advice, you know exactly what applies to you. And that in itself takes knowing yourself. That in itself takes feeling your feelings, feeling your emotions, where they are in your body, where they sit. Just the other night, I was having an incredibly anxious evening that makes me spiral because the self-hate thoughts come in. I now thankfully have the softness with myself that can help me get through those moments and can help to push back that negative talk and that shameful talk that I give myself and allow for a more loving and helpful and soft hand to guide myself out of that. But more beyond that, I had someone to talk to, which I haven't really had a partner like this before in my life. You know, I've had people that love me and people that listen, but one, never had someone like that in my life. But two, I've never been at the place where I am currently, where I feel like I can deal with things on my own, but I don't want to deal with things on my own because I know how much a hand that loves you can help you. Another note I want to make about turning to yourself first is, first, you should turn to yourself so you can know yourself, but you should also turn to yourself first so that when you do turn to others, you're not burdening, you're not relying, you're not overusing their support and opinions to simply navigate just your life. Again, using a last night's example because it was just so perfect. I was anxious because I had to make this decision about my evening and my day had been not what I thought it was going to be. And, you know, I had to get things underway and organized. And I was anxious. I didn't know what to do. And there came a point where I was quiet and they said, "Are you thinking?" "Yeah." And they just let me be. And there was silence. And I thought about, well, I want to do this. Well, that makes me feel bad because I can't do this thing. Oh, I want to spend time with them. But that's okay because they understand. And maybe, you know, well, I could have done this different and I could have done this different. And if I did this different, I wouldn't be here. And I started beating myself up and then pulling myself back. Figuring out where my anxieties were coming from was the most important part of the night. And taking that silence and taking that time with myself was the most important part, because then when I was ready to talk, I was emotional. But when I did, you know, break down a little bit, it wasn't because I don't know what to do. It's because I know what I have to do, but I don't like feeling this way. I don't like this feeling. And I just need to sit with it and talk about what's made me feel this way. Because even though I've resolved, this is going to be the rest of the night, this is what's going to have to happen, knowing that I've mentally resolved what needs to happen doesn't mean that my body has resolved what has happened or what needs to happen. I felt choked. I felt frustrated. I could feel it. It feels like choking. Like I can't take a deep breath. I can't focus on something. And to have someone with you that's calm like that, and you know, whether it's a partner, whether it's a friend, whether it's a family member that can hold you in that moment after you've turned to yourself. Another thing is, like, I don't want to preach that you need to be alone and figure your shit out before you can have that kind of help from a loved one, whether it's like friendships, relationships, whatever. That's so
like red pill, like incel, you know, no one cares.
You as a person need to believe that there are people that care about you. You need to choose what you believe, because it will shape how you see this world, and it will shape the world and the reality that you live in. I don't care if that sounds woo-woo. I don't care. That's just the reality of life. In a world that we live in where anything is possible, you decide what for you is possible and attainable, and then you go attain it. If you decide nothing's possible, if you decide no one cares about you, if you decide, so you've decided. No one can change that but you. So I don't want to preach you need to be alone. I think that's what is going to make you a miserable fucking person. I think a large part of like dating culture nowadays is, I want to be open. I want to be this. I don't want to settle down. I don't want a relationship right now. Like, I'm just figuring things out, which is totally valid. Like, that's 100% fine to do. Everyone goes through their own shit, but I do think a large percent of that is because there's people that have unresolved traumas and unresolved relationship issues, and they don't want to resolve it because they're not ready to, and floating in this middle place is comfy. And like, at the end of the day, you're human. Your friends are human. Everyone around you is human. Like, talking about our experiences is healthy and good. But there's two sides to it. There's help that you get from others, and there's help that you need to concoct for yourself. You need to be there for yourself. I don't believe in the thinking you need to stay alone and lonely in order to figure out your life. You are denying yourself the base joy of life. The crying to a friend, a warm hug, exactly what you need. You go get ice cream, you feel it out. Like, it's not that bad. It's not that serious. You're going to be okay. There's some things about the human experience that, unless you learn to feel in your intensity that you are meant to as a human, it feels like you're stunting yourself. After you trust genuinely in the fact that you're human, and what you're experiencing is not the first in human history. As a human on this planet, you have a right to health and happiness. Above everything else, you have a right to health and happiness. Above these current living conditions, I could rant for hours about fucking capitalism, inflation, the ants in my walls, and the cockroaches on my fucking floor. But political landscapes across the country that you probably live in that are terrifying to witness as you're getting older and more observant. Genocide, child labor, slavery. There's a lot of things happening in the world. There's always a lot of things. Right now, there's a lot of things happening in the fucking world. And amidst all that, you need to remind yourself that you still have a right to health and happiness. And that can be a hard thing to tussle with. It's a very privileged thing, I think, to tussle with. Because you have to tussle with that while seeing people be denied the existence that they're due. I'm thinking specifically of the genocide in Palestine, child labor in Sudan, Congo, like that kind of stuff. It's such a privileged thing to be able to sit here and be like, I have a home, I live in the country I do, I have the rights I do, and I have a right to health and happiness. But I think as something to return to keep your head level, you have a right to health and happiness. And you're probably thinking, like, how is this related to being your own best friend, Alexa? Like, I clicked on this video, blah, 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 and click off, bitch. Okay? Watch another video, bro. You have a right to happiness. And I think that is created when you decide that it's starting. That you decide that is something you are due. It starts with you, like, not being sad. Like, you just need to stop being sad. Please, I'll never be that fucking person. Like, there's a difference between accepting your life right now and deciding you deserve more and, like, mental illness, bitch. Okay, there's a difference. There's a larger conversation that this makes me want to talk about that has to do with the rise in anxiety, the rise in chronic depression, even the rises in ADHD, because at its core, all of these things are coming, these rises, in these things are coming from the society that we currently live in, because we live in a society, obviously. There's something about the rise of all of that is parallel, if not touching, and exactly the same as capitalism, society. That's a whole other conversation. But that notion, the right to happiness that hope can still exist amidst that whatever is happening. That hope is what I'm talking about. The crazy thing about it all is I think the more tightly you hold to I deserve happiness, I deserve to flourish, I deserve joy, the more it turns into I deserve to get that diagnosis, I deserve treatment to be healthier, I deserve to have friends that care for me. I deserve to have friends that I connect with. I deserve a clean and healthy space. I deserve to have my dishes done in a clean sink. I deserve to take that shower because it's been a long day. I deserve this. I deserve that. I deserve that. And like, if that's where you are with, I deserve to get a diagnosis, I deserve to get a treatment, I deserve this, I deserve that. If that's where you are at that health baseline, that some people don't even have to consider in their daily lives, where your health needs to be your focus, that's fine. That's fine. That's where I am a lot of the time, being a, ADHD diabetic that lives on their own, that makes ends meet, that goes paycheck to paycheck, like that forgets to take their meds repeatedly for no other reason than I'm unmedicated ADHD. Like it's come to that point where I'm like, this is just, I deserve better. I deserve better. I deserve a diagnosis. I deserve to try medication. I deserve, the happiness of figuring it out, of exploring my options, but that costs money. But I think it all just starts with deciding what you deserve. Sure, you can start to say the words, I deserve this, I deserve that, but meditating on that, because the empty feeling of just speaking words, I don't think is always going to do it. For those of you that enjoy things like energy work or meditation or manifestation or visualization, I think this is specifically, even if you're not into that kind of stuff, like I can make whole videos on each of those things and how they've helped me. To be able to sit where the wind blows your hair, where you can enjoy your coffee in the sun or in the shade, to be able to hear the birds, to be able to listen to the silence and the noises around you, and to breathe in and go, I deserve joy, and feel that joy in your body and what it feels like from your head, through your body, through your arms, through your torso, all the way down to your feet, what joy feels like in your body. And then breathe out and open your eyes and hold that feeling, that visualization. When it comes to, I deserve health, I deserve happiness, I deserve whatever you deserve, I think you have to do those things first. I think that's going to have to come first. If I give you anything from this video, I think action is, like I've said, one of the most important things, an actual thing that you can do and thing you can take away. You can go do homework if you want, put it in your calendar, bitch, like do it. You have one life to live and you should be there for yourself for it. In the interest of not regurgitating what 1.5 million self-help books would tell you, and in a better interest of giving you like actual things you can do, I found in thinking about this, I found that there was 3 things. There was to notice, to analyze, and to act. The first one being to notice all surrounds your inner voice. Notice how you talk to yourself. Just notice the voice in your head that maybe talks bad to you, talks down to you. Oh my God, I'm such an idiot. Oh, I did that. Oh, I did this. Picture that voice as some fucking CIA implant. It's not you. It's not you. And I'm not just saying that you need to restructure it as if it's not you. I'm saying that because it is not you. How you talk to yourself, that negative voice, is not you. At the end of the day, you need to envision the kinds of people you want around you. If you're envisioning the kinds of people you want around you, that's going to have to start with the kind of person you notice yourself to be. If you picture that voice in your head that you used to talk to yourself with as like a best friend, would you be friends with that person? Probably not. But I need you to like notice that voice, The second one, analyze. I still want you to remain free of the judgment you have about the words that you say to yourself, but follow it backwards. Like whether you journal, talk to a therapist, maybe you make videos, maybe whatever you do as a means of an outlet, notice and analyze where these thoughts come from, what triggers them, oh my God, I'm such an idiot. I got home from work and my place is a mess. Like, why do I always do this? What da 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 da. Notice that first and then analyze why you always call yourself an idiot. It's just a dirty apartment. You can just clean it, right? It's not that deep. Like maybe it is deeper. I think that's the point of the analyzing part, is like, oh my God, my apartment's such a mess. I'm such an idiot. There you've decided something about yourself. I always do this. There you're setting the standard for the person that you think yourself to be. I'm an idiot. And I always do this. Well, then sounds like you're an idiot and you always do that. You got to follow it backwards. Once you picture that voice as not you and you go, that was really rude of me to say, I don't talk to myself like that. I'm not an idiot. Visualize that, feel that energy in your body, leaving your body. I always do this. Feel that habit and how it does not have to be you. And that's just something in that second you've decided. Maybe it's a tendency you've done more often in the past fucking week or month. That means nothing. That means absolutely nothing, because tomorrow's a new day, next week is a new week, whatever. You can change anything you want to change. After realizing that that voice is not you, analyzing it, where it comes from, and all the decisions and judgments you've made about yourself and set in stone, and how those don't have to be you. The action, the third part, needs to come with softness, because if you're noticing that voice, seeing everything that you've analyzed about it, and then your action is coming by going, oh my God, I'm an idiot. Why do I talk to myself like that? Bitch. We're back at step one, motherfucker. If you know that voice isn't you, you analyze those things, and then your action comes from going, I'm not an idiot. Tomorrow's a new day. Let me just clean up. It's not that deep. I think I need to be kinder to myself because I don't deserve to talk to myself like that. Feel that feeling in your body. Release that feeling of being an idiot and feeling like you do this every day, Release those feelings. Act out of kindness and softness with yourself. I don't care who you are. I don't care what hormones you have. I don't care what's between your legs. I don't care what your identity, what your gender, which is sexual. I don't care anything. This applies to this video applies to everybody. I don't care. None of it matters because this is all universal. Okay? I think if I was to pick people to send this video to, I'd send it to the men. I'd send it to the men. I had seen this video something, I don't know, it was something online, where this person was talking about how they have other, maybe like personalities, other like characters in their brain for different things that they can assign tasks to, that can step in to help soothe them. So like for me, I've developed this like assistant character, which I make sure has a specific amount of time each day to do their assistant things. But if there's something on my to-do list or that it needs to get done, and I go, well, that's like assistant work, I put that on some to-do list or schedule that for later. I'm not doing that now. It's just, I don't want to do it now. I'm making a video. Whatever, like file it away for the assistant. And then when you have to do those things, those necessary things, the assistant steps in, But in the case of this specific topic, I also have this like grandma figure. Anytime I have that negative self-talk, that like beating myself up for doing something that's just like not that deep and doesn't need to be that deep, I have the grandma step in, the grandma voice. We don't have to talk to ourselves like that. Why are you talking to yourself like that? Honey, let's just get a nice cup of tea. We're gonna get some water. Let's go sit on the balcony and breathe in some fresh air. Maybe make a bowl of oatmeal. Everything's gonna be fine. And honestly, it really helps. It takes the burden off of figuring out how to care for myself. If I have like a couple known like little characters that I need to almost like channel in that moment, the grandma happens often. Notice how you talk to yourself. Analyze it, free of judgment. Know that it's not you talking. It's the things you've been trained with. It's the trauma you've been put through. It's the judgments that have been made on you that you're now just learning to regurgitate and talk to yourself with, and act with more kindness. I think that's it for today. Thanks for watching, guys. See you soon.